All right, excellent. So glad to see you all here. So welcome. How should I start? Back in year 2000, Sami likes this. So back in year 2000, we started Vaadin basically to make it easy to build great web apps. So web apps that would make the end users happy. And this is mostly for business. And we're looking around and seeing that business applications, they were pretty horrible back in that day. So horrible to use. And we were asking ourselves, why? And there was nice looking consumer applications that were pretty good to use. So the consumer grade UIs, they were kind of better than the business UIs. And I believe that it's all about the budgets. So consumer apps, they have just like a one view and a couple of views and fairly large budgets. And business apps is the other way around. You have fairly little money and huge to-do list to build all the zillion features. So we were asking ourselves, how can we solve this? So we are huge fans of Delphi. And in Delphi, you really embrace the component model. So we started building UI components back in 2000 already. And we ended up releasing the first framework that was really around UI components. And that's how we got started. But we are still on the same journey. So you guys, you are building an app with the full stack team, writing Java, trying to make the end users happy. But you have a lot of stuff on your desk to kind of figure out what the app should be doing and what it should be looking like. And maybe you have this huge pile of nice code that you inherited. And we try to help you in this. So we built this platform that tries to make it easy for you to build that app. And this platform is all about components that you can use to build your app and frameworks that help you to put those together. So we have multiple talks about those two topics in the conference, like Leif will be speaking about real-time collaboration in UIs, Rolf will be speaking about accessibility. There is a whole lab tomorrow by Joni on how to make your app look beautiful. So take a look at those. But one of the topics that we were discussing quite a bit last year, and will continue now, is that when we came up with this, our Polo prop was kind of a simple. And this sold. Everybody loved this. So just pure Java on the server side, no front end, no script stuff at all. And it's actually growing again. But still, the reason back then was that browsers were super hairy. And nowadays they are not that hairy anymore. So I think, and what I have been kind of also seeing, is that more of the Java teams, they want to use a bit of front end. And we started this framework called Hilla a few years back with the pure goal of making it easy to bridge the gap between the front end and the Java. So we last year, or this year, we basically brought these two things together in a way, in a seamless fashion, that you can have the same UI component, the same backend, and you can mix and match as you wish. So it's basically going to give more power, more choice to you. So to dive deeper, why and how, Leif has a presentation later today. But then, as Steven mentioned, we brought this new thing called Vaadin Copilot in there. And this actually goes way, way, way back on the basic promise is that we need more than just coding to get nice looking UIs built. And if you look like way back, you land with the next step and app in there called UI Builder. And turns out that in all the decades after that, everybody has been pretty much cloning this model. You drag and drop things around, and you create a design that is stored in some kind of a model file. And then you are coding separately, and you're gluing these two things together. And it's kind of awesome in the beginning, and then you paint yourself in the corner, and it's horrible in the end. And we did that as well. We had Vaadin Designer. And the whole industry went forward. Apple has been kind of leading the pack in there with Xcode. And a few years back, they said, no more. We reinvent everything, and they came up with Swift UI, where it went back to basics, just code, and then you have your application running side by side with your code. So we took this same idea, we pretty much kind of scratched the further development of Vaadin Designer started from scratch. So you code and you have your application live in there. But we took it a bit further, so you can actually interact with your application. You can start adding new views in there. You can edit theming. You can drag and drop components around. You can even chat with that application. But the key is that all of this just edits your code. It's a code editor. Code is always the master, so you have the full control over all of this experience. So next thing that we are actually adding right now is that you can take your design and you can cut and you can copy from there and drop it directly to Copilot. What happens is that when you go to Figma, you choose something and you drop that to Copilot. Copilot codes for you. It actually writes the code that implements that view. So it's kind of a cool bridge in there. Mark has a session after this that will be showing all about that. And we went even beyond that. So we wanted to kind of integrate AI in here. And we added the magic button that you can click, and it reads your code, tries to understand it, writes the tests for you. Manuel will be having a session tomorrow about how that's done. So next up, what we added is modernization toolkit. So this is basically a way to do something useful with that large pile of legacy code that you inherited. So basically it takes that pile, whether that's Vaadin 7 or 8 or even Swing, and transpiles that to modern Vaadin flow. So you can basically transform most of that automatically. So there is a session by Ben later on tomorrow about how this actually works in practice. So the final piece that we are adding to the platform, as you can see, the platform is kind of widening with this. So the last piece that we added to the platform is called Control Center. So this is making it easy for you to deploy your Vaadin application, whether that's like any cloud, basically anything that can run Kubernetes, and then monitor what the application is doing. And in the end, also managing full stack functionalities that we bundled in there that you can just use and adopt. I'll have a session later on about this today. So come there and let's kind of see how this works in practice. And kind of regarding deployment, there are 2 sessions tomorrow that are going to be interesting. By Vesa for how you actually run Vaadin flow-ups on production, and by René, how do you run Hilla apps in production, how you add observability in that as well. And as I mentioned, we have all kinds of full stack functionality built into Control Center. So Rolf will be showing one of those. How do you translate your application with the help of Copilot tooling and Control Center as a place to communicate with translators. So this is what we have been building. We have been, for the past 12 months, furiously expanding the platform to be a bit more wide. And the intent in there is that we try to make it simpler for Java developers to actually get more done. So what's next? We actually go and start adding pieces on top of this. So we kind of feel that the platform itself is wide enough, and now we need to be adding more and more and more functionality in there. But before going in there, what we want to do is to take a kind of cue from old Mac OS version Snow Leopard and have a snow reindeer release by Christmas. And the biggest feature of this is that there is no features at all. So we probably fail, but probably we at least try that there will be 0 features and purely focus on quality. And in this kind of part of the qualities is better documentation. So we started a new effort called the Vaadin Way, where we try to better guide people how you should be building Vaadin apps. So a bit kind of guidance and tutorials on that. Petter will be hosting a lab tomorrow. If you want to participate and pick into his thinking about what's the Vaadin way of building apps, or maybe kind of helping him to define what's the Vaadin way of building apps. So we also have new stuff coming up in 25. And this is not the roadmap, this is more like a consideration. These are things that we are thinking about, and I would love to hear from you, so please come and speak what should be in this list, what should not be in this list. First off, new theme. So a theme called Aura. It will be, the intent there is to make it simple to build apps like StarPass demo that you probably have seen. So make Vaadin look more fresh and modern and nice. And with that comes many new UI components. And we'll be trying to kind of put this new concept called full stack signals in everything that we do, both in Flow and Hilla. And then on the deployment side, make it truly seamless that you can you don't kind of interfere any usage by doing a zillion deployments a day, adding monitoring features in there, and even helping you to deploy your previews. So basically, when you do a commit, get to share that easily with somebody who can take a look of how it looks like. Also, we see that more and more of the apps, they need to be consuming AI. So we try to package some of those AI features in components that you can just plug into your application. And finally, try to make it a bit less tedious to build CRUD views, because there are so many CRUD views in any kind of Vaadin application. So that's what we have been planning for the next year. But going back to this full stack platform that tries to help you build that application, we think that the biggest feature is something that is not, what we are not building. I think the biggest feature is that we are building on. So we are on this Java platform. JVM is freaking awesome, and there is an awesome Java community around that. And even further, we are building on top of Spring platform, and the Spring is awesome. And we get so much free. You get so much free from these two platforms that we are building on. So with that, I have a great privilege of inviting my friend Josh Long to speak more about those two platforms. So let's welcome Josh.